This is Matt from MGMT Boston on another episode of The Lantern with the EnFi team here in Waltham, Massachusetts, right outside the city of Boston. We're here to talk about what EnFi is working on as it relates to, exciting new era of fintech and AI, an exciting new hire that they made right over here, which we're going to talk about, and a little bit more from there. So first and foremost, EnFi team, welcome. Joshua, could you please tell us what EnFi is?
Absolutely, and thanks for having us, Matt. EnFi at the highest level is an AI platform that is built to assist lenders in understanding the risks associated with making their lending decisions and the ability to monitor those risks over time. So you issue a piece of complex credit, a loan to a company that wants to borrow money, and EnFi really enables the borrower and the lender to have a much better experience by accelerating all of the process around collecting the information, understanding that information, and disseminating that information through the risk process.
Now, certainly a lot happened in 2024, and I know you have a couple of those highlights to share with us. And then we have a lot to look forward to this year in terms of some new members joining the team. So walk us through that if you could.
Well, given that we really got off the starting block in 2024, that was a year about starting, about building a company, building a team, building a product, and getting our first customers live. Like every startup, you learn an enormous amount in that process, and we certainly did. One of the things that we're really proud of is we finished the year with a good understanding of where our product needed to be and where our customers would get value out of that. And so now as we head into 2025, it's all about building on that. It's building our product to continue to evolve around the use cases that deliver a lot of value, and it's building our team to be able to meet the needs of those customers.
Speaking of new members of the team, we have Chris here who joined as the Chief Revenue Officer. Chris, what are some of the things you're going to be focused on leading the EnFi revenue team?
I think as we come into 2025, I think we're getting from the research phase of EnFi to the commercialization phase of EnFi. So we've already gotten customers on board with the platform. We've started to really narrow in on our use cases. Now we're going to start to build our brand and our outreach and our go-to-market motions around that. So as Joshua said, really leaning into the understanding of the market that we've got. I mean, as you know, when you're a startup and you're early, there are lots of different potential use cases. There are lots of shiny objects to chase. And I think we've been pretty good and disciplined about focusing on the areas where we think we can add the most value and build a real important and meaningful business around that. So those will be some of the key things, really focusing on those ideal customer profiles, focusing on the best ways to get to those profiles and help them understand the benefit we can provide, and then to really deliver throughout the course of the year.
Needless to say, this is a big year for EnFi. So now that we have, both of you strong startup commercial leaders here who have done a lot of things in and around the Boston startup ecosystem, numerated, and Josh, I think you've been a part of 9 startups, if I remember our conversation.
That might be a little
exaggerated.
All right, but many. What are some of those things you've learned building companies, whether it's from the early stage or just even operators, other members of the ecosystem looking to grow their career? What should they be thinking about as we enter this brand new native AI future era?
Building companies is what I do. I haven't built 9, but this is the 4th startup that I've been a co-founder of. And this is the honeymoon phase. You've got an idea, you go out, you raise capital, you're building a team, you're building a product from the ground up. It's as good as it gets. The best thing to keep in mind is startups are a roller coaster. Everyone says it, but it is true. And it's a compressed roller coaster. So it's not a roller coaster that cycles over multiple years. It cycles like that every day. Every day you have highs and you have lows. And how you deal with those is really the kind of key differentiation between people who are great in the startup environment and people aren't. Ultimately, if you can't adjust to the lows, if you can't absorb them, if you can't kind of pivot when necessary, it's hard to come back up and get to the highs again. And so great startup people really become really great at navigating the lows.
Yeah, I think one of the other things is you can't do it all. Every day we have those highs and lows. We identify things that we can, should, or might do. If you try to take them all on, you end up freezing. And I think this is week 3 for me here at EnFi. I've got a long list of things that could be done and need to be done and in due time will be. But focusing in on those key areas will help us build a good foundation for all of the other larger things we want to do later in the year is really, really important. And also understanding sort of how do we ground ourselves in the things that are most important to us and our customers. That's as important from a cultural perspective as it is from a commercial perspective. And I think we're doing a good job of that so far here.
And last but not least, how could we in Boston help EnFi grow? What are some of the things you all are focused on as we think about the spring and even beyond?
Boston's an incredible environment for startups. I would say, having built 4 of them in the Boston area, I don't really want to build them anywhere else. We have a great VC community, a great angel community. We have talent coming out of schools. We literally have all the building blocks to build phenomenal companies in Boston. But we also have a chip on our shoulder. We think we're constantly like not the best first place where companies go to be created and where big companies live. And so I think there's always policy, there's always support ecosystems, there's always events, there's always expertise that we can bring into Boston and keep in Boston that would further us. We went through an incredible first phase of growth. We went from 3 employees to 19 employees this year. And in doing so, getting access to the talent is the number one thing, right? Like when I start a company, I know I'm the least important person when we get to the end. And so finding people who are better, smarter, more capable than me is my number one job in a company. And knowing that that talent is being kind of built from the ground up here in the Boston area and being kept here is truly critical to building good companies.
I completely agree. I mean, I think, what the ecosystem can do to help us is if you know good people or if you're interested in what we're working on or learning more about what we're working on, reach out. And the first thing that I learned in my startup life, which seems to have been a long time ago now, the first rule is be helpful. And so I think for us, it's also how can we help the ecosystem? Where can we be useful? Where can we add value? So please don't hesitate to reach out to us if there's something that we can do there.
This is Joshua from EnFi. He's only built 4 startups, not 9, but it probably feels like 90. Chris, welcome to the team. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode of The Lantern.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.